Welcome to Hardheaded Podcast. We're excited that you've joined us as we have a conversation. We found that a good conversation allows us to share what's on our mind, whether current events, what's grinding our gears, or our pet peeves.
It also allows us to share our top 3, a list of our favorite things on any given subject, most of which are highly opinionated. In closing, we share a good word. Solid friendships are encouraging. Even if we joke and give each other a hard time, our ultimate responsibility is to uplift each other.
Our goal is that you'll feel like you're part of the conversation, like you were in the studio with us, and that you feel encouraged after tuning in to our podcast. It's time to join the conversation. All right, welcome to another Hardheaded episode. I'm here with Chet and Troy, and today we've got what's on Chet's mind. We've got our top 3 commercial travel pet peeves. Coming up on the holiday season, lots of people traveling. Just look out for what annoys you the most when you have to travel over the holidays or at any time for that matter. And then we're going to close it out with a good word from Troy. So let's kick it off. Chet.
As you know, it's fall, and with fall comes the menu change, right? The shift in the menu.
Chili cook-offs. And
so your chilies, your gumbos,
beef stew.
your jambalayas. I don't do beef stew. All that stuff is
missing out.
I'm okay if you do, but I'm coming around and so we talked a few weeks ago about heading up to Tailgate. It was on our live episode. We were talking about that. Killed it. I mean, it went fantastic. One of the issues that I had to overcome, though, and I was thinking about it, I cooked jambalaya, and man, I upgrade. I normally just jambalaya like how you got to grab the sausage and grab the whatever. I used the down home sausage, the green onion down home sausage, with half of that with the green onion, the other half I did some good andouille sausage. And then I went ahead and went with a pork loin for the pork that's called in there. So the tender stuff, just, man, and it made it even better than it normally is, which was fantastic. I did get a couple comments from the college guys that it wasn't hot enough. So,
like spicy enough?
Yeah. So
really?
I when I make it in Kansas or for Kansas people, I take a third out of all the hot sauce and the chili peppers and all that kind of, I bring it down a little bit. And so, but I brought some Louisiana hot sauce with me, and there's a couple of boys over there hitting it, just to bring the spice back up. But, how do you reheat jambalaya at a tailgate?
Like add spicy heat to it?
No. Reheat. Like make it hot. Cause you cook it. The way I did it, cause I don't have like this big jambalaya pot and I go up there and cook everything. I had to cook it a day ahead of time.
Right, bring it.
So that I wanted to make it hot. What do you do?
Crock pot.
Without electricity.
Burner?
Hey, bring a little portable
propane
generator.
burner?
I'm not going to buy a generator just to go to one tailgate.
You don't
propane
have
burner.
You don't have a plug-in in your truck?
They don't run crock pots.
Sure.
No.
Yeah, you start that thing up, plug it in. Absolutely.
No, it's blowing breakers and stuff.
Nope.
But here's the other thing. That crock pot ain't big enough for all the jambalaya I fixed.
It's a Ford. Hook up 4.5.
Jeez. I got a story about that. Thanks for reminding me. Yeah, I got my burner, my fish cooker.
Yeah.
You know, I'm thinking,
That's what I'd have brought.
But then I'm like, well, it's a typical Kansas day, wind's blowing 30 miles an hour. So what are you going to have to do with a burner when it's blowing 30 miles an hour? You got to crank up the gas, right? You got to put it on high heat.
No, you build a little shield out of metal.
I'm not, dude.
You're going tailgating. Go prepared. I mean, we do this in Alaska every year. They heat these big soups up for lunch.
Yeah, you do it every year. They didn't go fashion a metal windbreak the day of.
That's what I'm saying. Be prepared. I mean, you knew you were going to go tailgate. It's Kansas. You knew that there was a possibility.
What you should have done was go fab whatever.
You should have asked me is what you should have done, because basically that's what these guys do.
Yeah, you know what I did?
I'm going to listen to your way, and then I'm going to give you a better way.
I solved the problem with what I had. Okay, I didn't have to go create waste.
But then I'm gonna tell you a better way.
Then I had to store a metal shield in my garage just in case I happen to tailgate in 30-mile-an-hour winds again with the same dish. I got my fish pot, my fish frying pot, and I put water in it. And then I set my Dutch oven down in the boiling water. No burning. full blast on the propane, heated that stuff right up. It was pretty good. I was pretty proud of myself.
Good.
Yeah. You want to know the better way?
Sure. What should I have done?
So same concept. You could do that and put that on your burner, but put your jambalaya in the seal up bags, like the seal a meal, whatever. Seal them up, individually package them, and then put those in the water. And then when it heats up, it'll heat up quicker than your little
Dutch oven. Yeah. I understand what you're saying, but I was feeding, I don't know what, probably close to 20 people.
So
I'm not.
That's no different than the boats that we have on the water.
Well, I'm just saying right now, seconds, thirds, and fourths were had by all. Like it was.
Even with your shoddy heating method.
Yeah. It was good. And I used styrofoam cups to serve it in, and not bowls.
Oh, that's why people are coming back for third, fourth, and fifth. I mean, that's not enough jambalaya.
The big ones, not the little bitty 8-ounce ones, the big ones.
The 32-ounce cups?
I was packing them in there like snow cones. Put it over the top. It was awesome. But anyway.
You have some pictures?
Yeah.
You'll have to share them.
Yeah. I mean, not of like the food in a cup, but of like the people at the tailgate.
Oh, well.
I mean, that's the most important thing.
I wanted to see the food. I would have taken pictures of the food.
No, it was about the boys being there and having a good time with that. But anyway, so we're pulling up. I've never tailgated in Manhattan before, but there's one area that we walked by.
That explains a lot.
This one was one area that we walked. What does that explain?
Well, you weren't prepared, but go ahead.
I was prepared. Everything worked out.
You weren't prepared. Go ahead.
Yeah, whatever. How many times have you tailgated in Manhattan?
In Manhattan?
Where you cooked for everybody?
I tailgate in Kansas every Friday during football season.
You cook for
awesome
everybody?
high school football.
Oh, gosh.
You cook? You do the cooking or you do the eating?
I do a lot of eating, but
that's my point.
It's also kind of customary to always bring a dish anyway.
A dish. Like I'm talking like the meal, like everything. Drinks, had the cooler.
We got drinks. Yeah, we got.
All right. Well, anyway, so we pull in this area that we always walk by and like, oh, they do some, I've heard, rumored, they do some form of first come, first serve for the parking for the tailgate there. And so I got to beat the crowd so that we can get a spot. Well, we had all that rain the night before. Like I had just under 3 inches at my house. I don't know. Manhattan was soaking wet. So we get there and like the place is almost empty. And I was shocked. I was like, oh, wow. So pull up and then the dude's there, with the rope and whatnot. I'm like, hey man, this is my first time, but you got a spot? And he's like, yeah, I only got a couple left. And I'm like, couple? This whole grassy area is wide open. Normally people with their tailgate tents and, cornhole, all that kind of stuff. And so apparently they had shut that off because it was too wet. So they were just allowing people in the parking area, but the parking area is reserved. Like if the spots in the parking lot are reserved spots, and you have to pay for those in the spring for the whole season. So then this is an old school, and like the building's gone. So where the building was is all the grassy area, and the school parking is where the parking area was. And then in the middle of the parking area, they had this sidewalk in a circle, and then it was all mud. In the middle of it, up for other than dead center, there's a concrete base for a flag, like where they had the flagpole at the front of the school. And what they were telling people to do, the areas that they had that were first come, first serve, was pulling into that flagpole area, like hopping the sidewalk and then pulling down into the mud that's in the middle of all the sidewalk. So he's like, hey, after we paid him, he's like, yeah, just go. There's a guy directing somebody right there. Just go wait for him to get done with that truck, and then we'll, he'll help you park. I'm like, that's cool. So I go up there and I sit and I wait, and this truck is struggling to get over the curb, and they're like, oh, watch out, you're running boards. Oh, all this stuff, and then the dude's like backing up, and then trying to hitting the curb and doing all the. I'm like, oh, this may be iffy. And then the dude's like, I'm out of here. He's upset, an older guy. I'm out of here. Give me my money back. So they, sorry, sir, but Chevy. It was a Chevy truck. I pull up there and dude's like, hey, you may want to put in 4-wheel. I said, yeah, okay. 4-wheel drive, crawl up the curb, drop, then it's a sidewalk, but it's a curbed sidewalk. So you have to, front tires go up and drop down, then your back tires come up, and then you just sink in the mud. And then I got there, and then a little bit later, another dude came in, and then I looked around. Nothing but Fords parked there. Like everyone another, and so those college boys came up there, and we told them the story. It was like, hey, life lessons: Ford. I saw a Chevy try to get in here, and he got his money back and left. Like he couldn't take it anymore. But anyway, so killing it at the tailgate. I cooked. Our church had a women's weekend. I smoked some pork for that, like we did for the men's retreat, and I ran security the next Sunday. Oh, were you that young man that fixed the pork for the women's weekend? I was like, yes, ma'am, that was me. Oh my gosh,
That was the best ever.
that was so, no sauce.
We know her vision's going.
No,
Calling him young man.
no sauce on the meat. They were loving it. It was fantastic. I nailed that. And so gumbo. I got some supplies. When Broughton came up here, he loaded me up with some supplies. I got a little bit of down home sausage in the freezer. Dude, things are looking good for food. That's what's on my mind. All this cold weather.
I can't remember where I was, and I was so excited to have a brisket sandwich. Oh, Saltgrass.
Yeah?
You know that steakhouse?
Yeah.
I think you've talked about it once. Well, I finally went there.
Uh-huh.
And
Why'd you order a sandwich?
I know I ordered a steak, but my daughter
Sandwich.
ordered a pulled or a
Brisket
brisket sandwich, and then I ordered the chips and queso, and their queso has brisket in it.
Uh-huh.
They sauce their meat.
On a sandwich? Well, I'm about to come to the conclusion that barbecue joints shouldn't have sandwiches.
I mean,
Like, really?
They should have 1, 2, 3 meat specials.
I mean,
really, that's all that they should have. I'm there with you on that.
no, if you want to go the extra mile, and they should have Texas toast, buttered Texas toast like they did at Barbecue City in Ruston. And if you want to make a sandwich out of that, like ask for an extra piece of toast and like go to town on it.
The only reason I ever get a sandwich at a barbecue place is because it's cheaper. It's like the lunch special.
Yeah, because you're paying for bread. Like that's what's filling you up. I just don't.
I get a pulled pork sandwich probably once or twice a week from place down the way.
Yeah.
And I always take it apart and eat the pork and then dip the bread in the barbecue sauce or whatever.
Yeah.
But they don't sauce their meat there. They do a really good job. But I was a little surprised at a place like that they just don't have confidence in their brisket, I guess.
I thought on the way, I was out of town the other day traveling, and I was like, what am I going to get before I go to the hotel? Get the food at the hotel. They didn't have a Domino's nearby, so I had to think outside the box. But they had a barbecue joint there, and I'm like, well, yeah, that sounds good. I'll get some barbecue. Menu, like a sandwich. They had like 13 different sandwiches, and that's when I was like, why even have sandwiches? That's just the dumbest thing ever. But, so I'm like, I got the ribs. I got some ribs, and they were good, not sauced. I checked that when I was looking through. None of their pictures had sauced ribs. I'm like, okay, I'll get the ribs here. And I got brisket, and then instead of going my normal route with beans and potato salad, I was like, I'll try to go a little bit healthier and get green beans. And I'm, sit down and go to eat. I eat everything else first. And then I'm like, okay, now I'll eat the green beans. Almost puked. Nasty.
Oh, really?
How do you ruin it? They were bad. It wasn't like spoiled bad. It just like, there's something off. Like the water they cooked it in, or
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
weird.
know.
How can you mess up a green bean?
Yeah.
Hey, did you see who won Wichita by EB's barbecue challenge?
Of course. I had no doubt, man.
I had no doubt
When
either.
pigs fly.
Yeah, when pigs fly, if you're in Wichita, that's the place to go for barbecue.
You've heard us talk about them before.
And their brisket is on fire.
Everything they do is good.
Everything. Their pulled pork's the best I've ever
Their
tasted.
sweet tea, you go there, you order a gallon. That's what I do. Order
Yeah.
a gallon.
They
I
So good.
get the family meal for 4 and then eat it all by myself
they do everything well.
over the course of 2 or 3 days.
They do everything well. Even the chips that they have in there. If you want a bag of chips,
Oh, yeah.
they're Zapp's potato chips from
You
Louisiana.
get crawl taters there. They're
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, phenomenal.
Yeah, best barbecue joint in
Wichita.
Kansas?
Maybe, probably Kansas.
It might be in Kansas. I mean,
Yeah.
there needs to be like some type of competition against some of those bigger ones that have the notoriety in KC.
Yeah.
Yeah, KC sauces everything. That's
And I hate that.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, that's what's been on my mind. Killing it in the kitchen. And it's the time of year to do it. I'm excited. I may fry some fish here pretty soon.
Yeah, I fried some fish the other day. First time I ever had wiper.
Yeah? Is it good?
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah. My son caught a
Monster.
10.1 pounder.
Yeah?
It was 27 inches long.
Nice.
27
How many weights?
0.
Got some lead in here, boys.
Yeah, we had a guide take us out, and the guide was like, "Your son, how old is he?" I was like, "He's 10." He's like, "He'll spend his whole life trying to get one this big again."
Yeah.
I was like, "Well, he's hooked."
Yep. So. Good deal.
Top 3.
All right. I guess before we go to a top 3, maybe we should take a break.
Let's do it.
Take a break, and then we come back. Top 3 things that annoy us when we're traveling.
Are you driving traffic to your website? Do you have an engaging homepage? Better yet, does your homepage have a video? We recently created a video for a client about his business and the services they provide. Since he placed the video on the homepage of their website, he has had a number of clients specifically say they decided to use his services because of that video. At Trussell Media, we help businesses create engaging videos to host on their websites, email to clients, and use in their social media marketing. Contact us if you're interested in creating a video for your homepage today. TrussellMedia.com. Fill out the form at TrussellMedia.com/contact. Let us help you tell your story through video.
And we're back.
He didn't want to get into that argument.
Too late.
I don't want to hear that. We're going back to recording.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's good.
Anyway, our top 3 commercial travel pet peeves.
He just retreated from that argument.
We ain't got time for that. We got a recording to do. We got listeners to entertain, and
All right,
need to get back to that.
am I going first?
yeah, Troy, why don't you go ahead and lead it off?
All right, number 3, 3.4 ounces of liquid. Why is it just 3.4? Has a plane ever exploded from, I'm asking a serious question, from a type of liquid explosive over 3.4 ounces? Why is that?
I don't know the statistics on that, but I know that some dude tried to light he had the shoes, and he had like I don't know, gasoline or kerosene or lighter fluid in them, something like that. Tried to light them on the plane.
Which is also why you have to take shoes off if you are not pre-check.
And I think if you're pre-checking, you kind of get away with a little bit of that 3.4 ounces.
Well,
you don't even have to take it out of your bag.
yeah, you can put that stuff in a bag that's going underneath, right? But you can't.
Oh, you can put it as much as you want if you check your bag.
Right, but if you're carrying it on, you have to do the
if it's
3
carry on
for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just annoying. Number 2, small seats on the plane. Very annoying.
They've gotten a lot smaller too. As people have gotten bigger, the seats have gotten smaller, and it's not like it's not an illusion. It's a fact that they've gotten smaller, and they've actually they've crunched them together like that, but they've given it a little bit more front to back, I think, because they had to give more room for the economy plus, and then they shrunk the economy seats even more this way and this way. Because you'll be, I don't know, you fly a lot too, but walking down, you'll all of a sudden jump from 10 to like 13 on the seats.
Yeah.
You're like, where'd these two? Oh, they took them up to give room for economy plus. How old is this plane?
Yeah.
Annoying. Number 1, the talker. Sitting next to the guy that wants to talk the whole flight. This has only happened to me a couple of times, but it's bad. It's horrible. But I'm always
You look friendly. That's why they want to talk to you.
I guess, whatever.
So I'm with you on that sometimes. It depends on the day. If I'm in the mood, if I'm not, headphones.
Oh yeah,
Put those things on, nobody's going to talk to you at all.
that's true. Yeah,
They will just, that guy didn't want to.
And miss that opportunity to share Jesus. Yeah, that's a good idea, Matt.
Hey, I'm just saying. There are days I probably wouldn't be a very good witness. But I will say.
Days that end in Y.
So I was actually coming back from Montana and sitting in my seat, and this guy and I started talking, and come to find out he's from Goddard. And so I was like, well, I know that area pretty well. And I don't know how we got on the conversation, but we got on the conversation and I was telling him that, my wife's got she's still driving a 2012 Chrysler Town and Country that we bought back in 2012, and it's got like 250,000 miles on it now. And he's like, oh, well, my wife still drives a 2009 Honda Civic, and I don't know how many miles are on that thing, but she won't get rid of that thing, for anything.
Yeah.
And, he's like, he's been at Cessna for, I guess he told me 25 years or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, well, I'm trying to one up him. Right.
Yeah.
So he
Tommy Topper.
he one upped me, and I was like, well, my wife just got a new phone, and I bought it for her last Christmas, but she finally just activated it. And before that, I think her phone was 3G, and they're getting ready to turn that whole 3G thing off. And like her phone was no longer going to work. So I think she was forced to
Upgrade
and use the phone that I bought her a year ago. And he's like, yeah, my wife's, we just got her a new phone too, and she's so mad, and I hear about it all the time where she doesn't have the button anymore.
Yeah.
The home button on her iPhone, and then I was like, well, he beat me there, or we're at least tied.
Yeah.
And then he's like, well, and then I got this fridge in our home that we bought however long ago for this other house, and we moved into this new one and put the fridge in there. And he goes, all of our other appliances are black, but the fridge is white with a brown handle, and I can't get her to get rid of it, and she just keeps using it. But we ended up talking the whole flight from Denver to Wichita, which is only an hour and a half. But
yeah,
that was a good conversation. We had a good time.
So maybe you were the talker.
You might have been the talker.
And he's on his podcast right now. This dude was his wife was doing things better than my wife.
Could be
the whole flight.
Maybe, but it was I would say it was a pretty shared conversation because he's the one who started it.
Yeah,
so.
That's good. All right, who's next?
Chet, why don't you go and go? Unless you want me to go. I mean, I am prepared.
I'm going.
Boom.
People who bring too many carry-on items or have a carry-on that is too big.
They I had this on the last flight.
It's on every flight. It is on every flight.
They're trying so hard to make that bag fit, and it's like they said
that's
checking.
Not even a carry-on bag size. There's no way it's going to fit.
We're giving you green tags so you can gate check this, and we'll give it back to you immediately upon the closure of this flight. They just wheel that thing on, and then they think it's magically going to fit in whatever that is, the CRJ 120 or 130, whatever it is, the smallest dang plane you can get.
And I've come across it, if it's so big and heavy that you can't lift it over your head to put it in a bin, then it's not going to fit in the first place. It's too big. It's too much.
Yeah, check your bags, people.
I fault the airlines because they're charging too much to check your bag.
True.
You fought them? What'd you do?
I didn't say I fought them.
What'd you say?
I said I blame the airlines.
Oh, you blame
because
them.
They're charging too much to check your bags.
Yeah, I know that's driving some of it, but at the same time, and you people know who I'm talking about, you're allowed to, right? Yeah. Nuh-uh. That's violated every flight. There's somebody that's got like a bag in one of their bags, and they take that bag out and they like shop and put all that junk in there, and then they're walking around with 3 bags. It's just too many or too big. Number 2, queuing before the group is called. Very frustrating to me.
Look. Yep.
If you are in group 4 and you don't even sit down in the waiting area, you just go walk right up to where you board and you stand there, we got problems.
You're right in the way.
Get out of the way.
Get out of my way. I'm group 1.
Look, if you're the first in line with group 4, it's still too late. There's still too many people that got on with too many bags, and you're going to have to gate check your carry-on. It's just going to happen. I'm sorry. Go sit down. When I was in India a few months ago, I couldn't believe it because first off, they boarded the plane from back to front, 3 zones. Like the back third was zone 1, the middle was zone 2, and
that's the most efficient way to board a plane. And
they were like, nobody standing up. Zone 3, everybody stood up and just went through the deal. Then nobody's there; it's empty. Zone 2, just straight, and I'm like, holy cow, this is phenomenal. The other thing that I thought was pretty cool is the announcer, because they always give you bad information, but they were extremely polite. They were like, "Hi, my name is Chet. Welcome to Indigo Airlines. We're about to board Zone 3. We're happy you were with us today." I'm like, "Oh wow, this is pretty cool."
Yeah, that's some good stuff, right?
I know. It made it positive.
That's good positivity. I like that.
All right, number 1. It kind of goes to the seat size thing, but reclining seats. Do away with them. There's no more reclining seats in coach. They should not exist.
They don't even recline enough to tell anyway, really.
They recline enough to hit my knees. And therefore, they should not recline. So what I have to do on those small regional jets, and for those that are on audio only, I'm, roughly 6'5". So I when somebody finally sits in the seat, and it's not just the reclining, it's the thrusting yourself back to reach under your butt to grab the seatbelt that you sat on instead of moving it out of the way before you sat down. They do the. So even without hitting the recline button, they come. So when somebody sits down, I have to sit there with my hands on the back of the seat. So when they thrust themselves back, it doesn't just bang into, because it's when your knees are bent, it's that little tender part right next to your kneecap where those things just, bam, they hit you real hard. So I push until I get out of that, and then it's a guessing game on whether or not they're going to make another violent move to the back. Just like I'm like, okay, I think I can put my hands down, and every now and then I miss it, and they do it. But then it's like, okay, when we take off and they hit that boom. 10,000 feet, and now everybody's like, oh, I could get up and go pee, or I could recline my seat. I'm back up. And a couple of times, and I've never almost caused an incident. I've thought about it, but I've never have. A couple of times, they push their button, I'm holding it. They push their button and try to recline, and it won't because I got my hands there.
Yeah.
And then they go bonkers, and they just like violently rock back and forth as if there's a little tab in there that needs to break to get the thing to recline. So then they're like going, wow, 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 and I'm just like, holding it. One time I did lean up and I said, "Sir, I'm 6'5". You're not going to be able to recline your seat." But you don't get anything out of it anyway. It's
right.
Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
So take it away. Just remove the button. That's my number 1.
I'm fine with that. I like it. All right, Matt. Let's hear some preparedness over there.
Number 3, service animals. And I use service in quotes because there are some animals that people consider service animals that are not service animals. And they're a huge pain in the butt to stand next to in the airport when you're standing in line. I don't know, a few months ago, coming back from Alaska, I had to stop at the ticket counter because I needed to change my flight or something like that. And so I'm waiting, and they're like, "Oh, well, you're a little too early. You can't check your bags yet. You're 4 hours ahead of time, but you can only check your bags 3 hours ahead of time." And I'm like, "Well, I was planning on checking them now, so I go back to the hotel and get a few hours of sleep. And then I was just going to come back here and go." "Oh, well, you can't do that." "All right, well, I think by the time I stand in this line and get done, it'll probably be close." So I'm standing in line, and I've got 15 at least dogs in this same line because everybody's checking their their dog crates or whatever it is, and dogs are barking and trying to get at other dogs. And
Where do these, you've traveled with your dog. Where do you take them to relieve themselves?
there are pet relief areas in airports.
Really? I've never come across them.
Service dog relief areas. Yeah, they're kind of tucked away. They're hidden a little bit.
Yeah.
But the
They have like fake grass in there?
yeah. So it's like AstroTurf, and they have like fire hydrant in some of them that the dog can get up, just lift their leg on a fire hydrant.
Do you have to like hose it down when
Yep,
you're done?
There's a little spray nozzle to
No way.
spray it off. Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
There's little bags to pick up the solids. You
Yeah.
know? But the way to get around that, and for somebody who is actually traveling with a service dog would know, is that you fast your dog the day before, no food or water the day before travel, and then they don't have the issue of having to go while you're traveling.
Yeah.
Because with Badger, that's what they did. I mean, we didn't have to stop or go to the bathroom or do anything, and and I thought maybe he would need to go, so I took him to one of these pet relief areas,
Mm-hmm.
and he stood there and he's like,
Yeah. Got nothing for you.
nope, and he would just sit right beside me, and then as soon as we land, hook him up with the water, hook him up with the food, and he's good to go.
Yeah.
So fasting your animal prior to travel prevents any accidents that you might have in the airport. Plus, if they tend to get airsick, which some dogs tend to do, like Badger started dry heaving one time, and I was like, oh, he's going to make a mess, but there's nothing
Nothing to come out.
to come out. So
And those people that don't have service animals have never been through the training to understand
know
that
that.
kind of stuff. And your dog hasn't been trained to deal with that. So then they get very frustrating.
Yep. So the fake service animals really annoy me, especially little ones that want to whine or bark or meow or whatever on a flight.
Yeah.
Number 2, standing in the aisle. Hate it. With a passion.
Like during flight or
No,
just
no.
anytime?
No, because the way air travel is now, they don't want you standing in the aisles, so you can't just stand there and talk
Right.
like you used to. I mean, I remember flights way back in the day where you could just kind of saunter up to whoever and just kind of stand there and talk in the aisles and have a good time. They don't like to do that anymore.
Yeah.
But the one I'm talking about is as soon as you land and you're taxiing to your gate, and then the airplane stops and you hear the ding, and then you hear the of all the seatbelts coming off at one time, and then everybody stands up like we're going to get off this plane right now, even though you're behind me, wherever I'm sitting, you're behind me, but you're standing next to me, and I can't. It's like, just you're in my zone. There's no reason for you to stand here. We're all going to get off this plane. I get it if you're going to miss a connection or there's flights running late, but when you're flying to a destination that has no connections because it's a small town or a small city, small airport, there's no reason for you to stand up.
Unless you're 6'5" and you've been battling a dude that's trying to recline a seat the whole flight, and you just got to get up and get some relief.
You know what? You take that 5 minutes.
It's not 5 minutes all the time,
you take
Matt.
that
It's
5
not.
minutes and you just suck it up.
No.
And don't stand next to me because I've been extremely patient this entire
I'm
flight.
standing next to you, and I know which way I'd face too.
And I know which way this would go
I'd stand
because
sideways.
crotch level. Bam.
Yeah.
I'm channeling Chris Broughton Sting.
Yes.
But it's
So have you ever traveled where as soon as the plane touches down and like is at taxiing speed, then everybody gets up before they get to the gate? Like
oh
the
yeah,
plane's
well,
still
and then
moving?
then the flight attendant comes on. Please remain seated and fasten your seatbelts until the aircraft.
Yeah,
is
that
coming to
doesn't
a
happen
stop.
when you're flying to Haiti. It's like I'm getting up, I'm getting the stuff out of the overheads. They're like, it's time to go.
Get out.
Yeah.
But that annoys me because everybody just standing around like they haven't even got the jet bridge connected yet, and I got somebody standing beside me
I'm standing up.
doing this.
If I'm in the aisle, I'm standing up. I'm sorry. I apologize in advance.
And you're grabbing your bags and you're just sitting there and you're bumping.
I don't grab my bag.
You're bumping me with your bags.
My knees need some relief.
Because you're more important than everybody else. I
No.
get it. It's fine.
grab my
That's what
bags.
annoys me. That's
I usually just walk to the restroom.
After you land or when you're waiting?
I usually try to go before we land. But
anyway.
I'd try my hardest not to have to use the restroom on an airplane, but when you're going overseas, it's impossible.
I try my hardest not to use the restroom, but I go every hour. It's like
Yeah.
it's impossible.
You got problems.
Get you a little catheter.
Have you ever
cath yourself?
Have you ever had to change a diaper on an airplane?
Oh no.
I had to do that with Stone when he was in diapers, and
Oh, no.
it was a disaster because he's a big baby, and the little tray table they have in the bathrooms that you fold down for that.
It's probably too big, wasn't it?
His head was touching one end, and his legs were leaning up against the wall. I just had a few inches to get in there. It was a turd in that diaper, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. But luckily, in those little regional jets, I could just broaden up and brace myself against the wall, so you don't have to worry about the turbulence while you're going through all that. But anyway,
Oh man.
number one, Matt.
Number one, TSA.
Oh yeah.
That's probably one of my biggest pet peeves, and it's not necessarily them. It's their training, because there's no consistency across any airport anywhere you go, and you would think that it's transit security or transit safety, whatever. They might. It's a federal deal, so why not have some uniformity across everyone? I think, because the Marine Corps, we do a lot of the things the exact same way, and we have to do it the same way. Just be consistent. Like, if you're going to do it and you're going to make it a pain for me, at least I want to know that it's going to be consistent everywhere I go, because then I can be ahead of the game when I get there and be like, oh, okay, here, I'll give you my hands. Oh, you want to check my legs? Oh, check the legs. Oh, you want to check my feet? Check my feet. Because, I still, I'm TSA pre-check and got all the whatever. So, I don't have to take my shoes off anyway because of the prosthetics, but I don't have to take anything out of my bag. But every time I go through, it's like, okay, how long is this one going to take me? Because has this person never seen a prosthesis before? Is this their first time with one?
Right.
I think I might even just start up a consulting firm and going around and just telling these people how to do their job. And again, it goes back to consistency. I checked a rifle one time.
Yeah.
And, when you sign the little yellow or the orange card, says, I declare that this rifle is unloaded. And then the TSA person has to sign off on it. You would think that they'd want to make sure it's clear. And there's been a few times where they haven't even looked. Like, I had the hard gun case and then the gun inside of a soft gun case just to prevent any damage. They opened it up. They patted the soft gun case without even opening it up and said, oh, okay, it's clear. I was like,
Do they know what clear
That's
means?
been frustrating. I almost had a gun pulled on me one time for flying with a Leatherman before 9/11. Like, they spread eagled me on the wall, and he grabbed his gun, left it in the holster, and radioed for backup.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Before 9/11. Wow.
Yeah. He's like, what's this? And I was like, it's a Leatherman. He's like, what's that? And I was like, it's a multi-tool. Put your hands on the wall. I was like, what the heck, dude? And then his supervisor came over. This is a sheriff's deputy. I don't know. I can't remember who actually did security before TSA. But yeah, and his supervisor came over. He's like, oh my gosh, sorry, sir. He's like, dude, apologize. I'm like, I'm gonna go down. Put your hands on the wall. This.
well, you probably deserved it. You're probably standing next to him and he remembered you from a previous flight.
Probably. When I wouldn't let somebody recline in front of me.
Oh, that's
He's
probably
triple.
him.
He was,
I'm gonna
he
remember
was
that guy.
trying to recline probably.
All right.
If you're 6'5", I need to recline.
It's my number one, TSA.
Nice.
All right, Troy, you got a good word for us?
Yes, sir. So at my church, we've been going through talking about the Sabbath and what it means. We've been going through the Gospels, and we took a break to go through a 4-part series on the Sabbath, because it's a thing in the Bible that's really important. It's all about rest, right? So on the 7th day, God did what?
Rested.
He rested. And God, being it's sovereign overall and in charge of everything and created everything, and did he really have to rest? Did he?
No, he's setting us an example.
That's right. He said it as an example.
Bing, bing.
And so we've just been talking about on the importance of rest and how God put into motion, even the earth needs to rest, the soil needs to rest, humans need to rest, animals rest, and God rested on the seventh day to put that as an example for us, showing that we need it in every facet of our lives. So yeah, do you guys practice Sabbath weekly or monthly or anytime?
Yeah, I would say it's not necessarily for a whole day, but definitely try to mellow out. Sunday afternoons on the weekend. If and most weekends, not all of them. There's sometimes things that have to get done. And then I think we talked about this, from a outdoors perspective. That I view that as rest, like not necessarily getting up at 4:00 and going duck hunting and hauling decoys everywhere, but like deer hunting is really Sabbathy to me. That your
very chill
fortress of solitude of your deer camp and being alone, and kind of unplugging and being with your thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a really good series for us to go through, because growing up the way I did in Southern Baptist denomination, always felt like Sabbath was like, hey, you can't. It was very Jewish in the way, like in the Old Testament, the Jews made all these laws on top of.
Well, yeah, you come from the South, the blue laws, right? They had literally had laws in the books that you couldn't have liquor stores open on Sunday and
right.
Gambling, the lottery tickets and whatever else, all the laws around that. Restaurants open and
yeah. So I felt like Sabbath. I've always viewed Sabbath as something that you just have to lay around and do nothing.
Yeah.
But going through this series, that's really not. It doesn't have to be that way. And so we're just learning some different things. So it's been really good. And ever since I've gotten out of the wedding industry, personally, my business still shoots weddings, but personally, I've gotten out of going every Saturday and shooting wedding after wedding. I've really taken that Saturday to Sabbath and rest, or that Sunday, or spending time with my kids. Whether we're doing an activity or whatever, it's still away from work. Right. So I'm not going to do any video editing. I'm not going to do anything that has to do with work that I do from Monday through Friday.
Right.
I'm going to spend that time doing something else to free my mind from the Monday through Friday work. So it's been really good. So the good word is Sabbath.
That's cool.
I try to practice that as much as humanly possible.
At work.
At
home.
I try to rest at work.
on vacation.
I get home from work. I try to rest. The only time that I don't get any rest is, surprisingly enough, when I'm on vacation.
Yeah, you need a vacation from your vacation. Most people do.
100%.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for the good word, Troy. We'll catch you next week.
Thanks for listening to the Hardheaded Podcast. Don't forget to share this podcast with others to help us get the word out.
Also, if you haven't yet, please rate and review the show. This helps our podcast show up in other people's suggested shows that may or may not have listened to us before.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.